Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're stepping into the surprisingly high-stakes world of commercial vehicle recovery and global procurement. I mean, think about it. When a massive rig breaks down or crashes, it doesn't just stop traffic, right? It literally grinds commerce to a complete halt. Clearing that kind of blockage, well, that requires some absolutely serious, specialized engineering. Because, let's face it, moving broken things safely and efficiently is a remarkably tough business. And as our global supply chain has evolved, fleet managers all over the world have realized something absolutely critical. Chinese manufacturing flexibility, it's basically become the ultimate solution for building a highly capable, adaptable recovery fleet. So today, we're going to unpack exactly how that works and how to navigate these really heavy-duty procurement decisions. Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to follow a highly structured engineer's blueprint for today's masterclass. We'll start with the art of recovery, break down the 4 core wreckers, decode those vital specs, match the right truck to the task, and finally, wrap up with smart global sourcing. Let's get to it. Starting with Section 1, the art of recovery, engineering classifications, and real-world stakes. Because buying the right tow truck, or wrecker as it's known in the commercial industry, it isn't just about flipping through a catalog and picking what looks cool. It's a precise science of matching hardware to specific disaster scenarios. To ensure both your return on investment and, more importantly, safety on the road, you really have to understand how these vehicles are engineered. Chinese special vehicle manufacturers use a super rigorous classification system. They don't just look at the size of the truck. No, they classify recovery vehicles based strictly on the structural relationship between 3 main components: the boom, the underlift, and the cargo body. This relationship forms the absolute foundation of every procurement decision you're going to make. All right, let's open up the toolbox in Section 2, the 4 core wreckers. This is the true arsenal of vehicle recovery. Every heavy-duty problem has a highly specific mechanical answer, and we're going to look at the 4 distinct configurations that make up a professional fleet's toolbox. So here's your mental model before we zoom in. The 4 standard configurations are flatbed wreckers, often called slide beds or rollbacks, integrated boom and underlift models, separated boom and underlift models, and finally, the massive rotator wreckers. Let's break these down one by one, shall we? First up, the flatbed wrecker. Now, what's really interesting here is that this is the absolute standard choice for city breakdown services and dealership transport. By pulling a passenger car entirely onto a hydraulic tilting deck, you completely eliminate drivetrain wear on the towed vehicle. It is quite literally the precision scalpel of city recovery. In the Chinese manufacturing sector, you'll actually often see these designed as what's called a 1-2-2 unit. Now, I know 1-2-2 sounds a bit like a ballroom dance move, right? But it actually brilliantly illustrates maximum fleet efficiency. It simply means the truck can securely carry one severely damaged vehicle on the flatbed, while simultaneously towing a second vehicle right behind it using a rear underlift mechanism. Double the recovery, single the trip. Pretty smart. Stepping up into much heavier territory, we have our integrated wreckers. In this model, the recovery boom and the underlift hydraulic system are fused together into one single heavy-duty subframe. And why does that matter? Well, it provides a much lower center of gravity and just incredible structural strength. This is your medium commercial workhorse, perfectly engineered to grab and tow things like transit buses, loaded delivery vans, and medium-duty box trucks. But what if you have a way more complicated mess to clean up? That is exactly where separated wreckers come in. Unlike the integrated model, this design completely separates the boom structure from the underlift mechanism. This gives operators unbelievable flexibility during those really complex accident recoveries. You can literally use the boom to lift a heavy engine block or clear roadside debris, all while keeping your underlift completely ready and unobstructed for the actual towing. And then we reach the absolute flagship model, the rotator wrecker. That number, 360, it represents the sheer scale and capability of this machine. It features a full 360-degree rotating crane boom mounted on a multi-axle heavy chassis. Stabilized by these incredibly robust hydraulic outriggers, the rotator is the undisputed heavyweight champion for highway rescue. We're talking about uprighting overturned semi-trailers or recovering heavy construction equipment from deep embankments, and doing it all without blocking multiple lanes of traffic. It's a total game changer. All right, moving on to Section 3. Decoding specs, where we're going to start looking under the hood. We've seen the physical outside, sure, but the true success of a recovery relies entirely on these hidden technical parameters. So the crucial point here is understanding the physics of leverage. Take the underlift capacity, for example. An underlift might safely support 10 tons of weight when it's fully retracted. But, and this is a big but, when operators extend it to its maximum reach to grab a vehicle, that capacity drops drastically, often down to just 5 tons. Fleet managers and operators must deeply respect these limits. If they don't, they risk catastrophic and incredibly dangerous equipment failures right on the job. Other critical specs tie directly back to safety and performance too. You have the winch pulling rating, which is often dual hydraulic on heavy models, and that dictates your pulling force. You've got the power takeoff and multi-way valves, literally the lifeblood of your hydraulic reliability. And perhaps most importantly, the chassis gross vehicle weight, or GVW. Listen, if you overload a light chassis with a heavy steel wrecker body and a heavy-towed vehicle, you severely reduce your steering control. It creates a massive safety hazard. You just can't do it.
It is time to put all this into practice in Section 4, Matching Truck to Task. This is essentially the fleet manager's cheat sheet. Let's apply these specs practically and act as the ultimate matchmaker between the disaster scenario out in the field and the vehicle you actually choose to buy.
When you map it all out, you can brilliantly simplify these really complex international procurement decisions. So if your primary scenario is a city breakdown with passenger cars, you procure a flatbed wrecker, focusing heavily on maneuverability and deck capacity. If you're recovering municipal buses, you need an integrated wrecker with a 10 to 20 ton underlift focusing on that chassis axle rating. And for overturned rigs on the highway, you go straight to the rotator wrecker, putting all your focus on boom steel grade and outrigger stability. It really is that logical.
Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, Smart Global Sourcing and Leveraging Chinese Manufacturing. We know exactly what we need now, but how do we actually buy these vehicles effectively? Well, this is where leveraging the massive capabilities of Chinese manufacturing comes into play for global export markets. A really common question we see posed by procurement professionals is this: how do I choose the right chassis for my wrecker? When you're sourcing internationally, it is definitely not a one-size-fits-all answer. There are several really critical variables you need to balance. First off, as we just learned, you absolutely must match the GVW to the payload. But beyond that, Chinese suppliers offer just incredible versatility. They build on domestic brands like Dongfeng, as well as joint venture brands like Isuzu in both left-hand and right-hand drive. They can adapt engine outputs to meet your specific local regulations, dialing emissions anywhere from Euro 3 for certain African markets, all the way up to Euro 6 for highly regulated regions. And through OEM and ODM services, you can even specify custom steel plate thickness or request imported European or American hydraulic valves. You basically get to build the exact tool you need from the ground up. I want to leave you with this provocative thought. If engineering precision dictates recovery success, what is the hidden cost of under-equipping your fleet in today's global supply chain? Buying the right tow truck isn't a cost. It's an investment in keeping the world moving. If you're a fleet manager ready to verify technical parameters and explore customization for your country's specific needs, make sure you reach out to dedicated engineering and export support teams. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, stay curious.